I welcome his decision. I'm pleased this outcome has been reached having regard to due process and the law. That has prevented what might otherwise have been a complex procedure that would have caused significant distraction, impact and cost to West Midlands Police and the wider West Midlands. It was important this matter was resolved in a balanced, calm, fair, measured and respectful manner. The Chief Constable's retirement follows the decision of the Birmingham City Council Safety Advisory Group, based on the recommendation of West Midlands Police, to ban away fans from attending the Europa League football match between Aston Villa and Maccabi Tel Aviv on the 6th of November 2025. West Midlands Police have been subjected to understandable, intense and significant oversight and scrutiny as a consequence of events that led to the recommendation it made to the Safety Advisory Group. That has included the letter from His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary that was published as recently as Wednesday, the 14th of January. That set out significant preliminary concerns and shortcomings in relation to the preparation and planning by West Midlands Police. It is important that I acknowledge the many positive achievements and contributions that Craig Guilford has made to policing within the West Midlands during the course of his 3 years tenure as Chief Constable. As Police and Crime Commissioner, and on behalf of the people of the West Midlands, I thank him for his service. I have today appointed Deputy Chief Constable Scott Green as the Acting Chief Constable. We have already met to discuss the actions that the force must take to rebuild trust and confidence amongst all the people and communities of the West Midlands, including addressing the significant matters identified in the letter from HMIC. The Acting Chief Constable and I are committed to working together to prevent and tackle crime, bring offenders to justice, promote the rights and welfare of victims, and ensure the safety and security of all of the people and communities of the West Midlands. Thank you very much.
Where's the accountability in retirement, Mr. Foster?
So no questions there for the Police and Crime Commissioner of the West Midlands, Simon Foster, who has announced the Chief Constable of the West Midlands, Craig Guilford, is retiring. That wasn't on the cards earlier this week, but also this week, he lost the confidence of the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. That was on Wednesday. Simon Foster's predecessor as a Police and Crime Commissioner told me that he thought Craig Guilford should go as Chief Constable of the West Midlands. And this follows a report into the decision-making in the police force around the banning of Maccabi Tel Aviv fans attending a football match with Aston Villa that seemed to be riven with errors, not least the use of AI that hallucinated a football match with West Ham that never actually happened. So Craig Guilford is officially retiring in the role of Chief Constable of West Midlands Police. And his successor as interim acting Chief Constable has been named there by the Police and Crime Commissioner, who has the ability to choose them, as Scott Green, who is already in the force. Let's speak to Shaman Freeman-Powell, who is in the Midlands for us, our correspondent. A little bit of a surprise, this, Shaman, because Simon Foster, the Police and Crime Commissioner, was pretty much the only person saying he was going to continue to go through due process and not make a decision before he'd heard from Craig Guilford. And that was looking like the end of the month, when it certainly seemed that pretty much everybody else from the Home Secretary down wanted him to go.
Yeah, that's right, Jonathan. The fact that Craig Guilford had to go had been written on the cards for quite some time now. But as you've mentioned, the Police and Crime Commissioner seemed to want to wait for a full investigation before making a decision. But there has been mounting political pressure for Craig Guilford, the West Midlands Police Chief Constable, to resign, with even the Home Secretary announcing that if she had the powers, Shabana Mahmood would have sacked him herself. But it seems that now the West Midlands Police and the Police and Crime Commissioner have cracked under pressure. We've just had a statement, a live statement from Simon Forster, the Police and Crime Commissioner, referencing that he did still want to go through that due process and kind of hinting that that's why it took so long. But he confirmed that the Chief Constable has retired with immediate effect. He wanted to acknowledge the fact that he had acted with honour in the best interest of the police and the region, referencing that this decision had been reached with regard to due process and law, and that it was important that the matter was resolved in a balanced, calm and fair and respectable manner. It's quite an interesting statement from the Police and Crime Commissioner there. As we pointed out, this has been a scandal, an issue that's been rumbling on for a number of months actually, but definitely in this past week. The decision made last year by West Midlands Police to ban the Israeli fans from the match against Aston Villa was heavily criticised and politicised at the time, and that criticism only intensified when a report by the Inspectorate of Constabulary found that Guildford had led a force which had exaggerated and at some points even fabricated claims to support its decision to ban those fans from attending that match. It meant that Craig Guildford had to apologise twice to MPs, but as I said before, saying sorry wasn't enough. Many MPs from both sides of the political spectrum wanted Guildford to resign, and the Home Secretary made it clear that he had lost confidence, that confidence had been lost. Now, this is way more than a football match. This is about a police force, Britain's second biggest police force, being accused of misrepresenting intelligence and misleading the government. It has now been announced that a replacement has already been announced, and now it's about making sure that the public still have trust in West Midlands Police.
Shamar, thank you very much indeed. Responding to Simon Foster's statement that we heard just a moment ago, the Home Secretary has since said, Shabana Mahmood, this is, that the findings of the Chief Inspector were damning. As Shamar explained for us there, they set out a catalogue of failings that have harmed trust in West Midlands Police. By stepping down, she says, Craig Guildford has done the right thing today. I would like to acknowledge his years of service, and I pay tribute to the work of the officers in West Midlands Police who keep their community safe every day. Today marks a crucial first step to rebuilding trust and confidence in the force amongst all the communities they serve. So if you're just joining us, the breaking news this hour, just after 4 o'clock, is that man on your screen, Craig Guildford, has stepped down as Chief Constable of West Midlands Police, officially retiring, but had been under significant pressure for weeks now over decisions to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, that Israeli football club, from attending a match that was played against Aston Villa in the West Midlands, of course. Our sports correspondent, Rob Harris, has been across this from the start and joins me on the phone right now. Rob, we should set the context of this, because some of the decision-making of West Midlands Police was taken after Maccabi Tel Aviv played Ajax in Amsterdam a few weeks prior, where there had been trouble.
Yes, there are so many strands to this story, and while it is centred on a football match and the decision to ban one group of fans from Maccabi Tel Aviv, it has raised deeper questions about the integrity of West Midlands Police and how they reach decisions, particularly over such contentious areas. And what this all comes down to is, in the middle of October, amid weeks and weeks of discussions about how they could protect this match, what West Midlands Police decided was it wasn't safe enough to allow Maccabi Tel Aviv fans to attend this match. What they never said initially was whether that was because of the threat posed by Maccabi Tel Aviv or the potential threat towards them. And this is where there are some difficult conversations that I've had in communities, and also the ripples from the Israel-Hamas war as well, because there's a large Muslim pro-Palestinian activist community around Aston Villa Stadium, and against that there's also a section of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fan base that in Amsterdam in 2024 and on other occasions have been involved in anti-Palestinian racist chanting as well as violence. So these were the difficult things that West Midlands Police had to try and balance and navigate. But what they eventually said, and it was an exclusive interview with me, was the primary factor that led to the ban was the hooliganism threat from Maccabi Tel Aviv. And it was only secondary, the threat towards Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. And they said it was exclusively a decision about the violence that effectively could be caused by Maccabi Tel Aviv fans in Birmingham. And that created all sorts of deep concerns about the perception of anti-Semitism, given the fact not only would there be Israeli fans there from Israel, but also potentially members of the Jewish community in the UK also supporting the team as well. And this coming just days after the anti-Semitic terror attack on the synagogue in Manchester. So against all that, it led to deeper investigations into how this decision was reached. We go to the end point, what we had from the inspectorate this week, effectively the body that polices the police. They said that West Midlands Police overplayed the threat posed by Maccabi Tel Aviv fans and underplayed the threat towards them. And it was only at the start of this week that in a new document distributed to MPs from West Midlands Police, they acknowledged that in the very first week in September, they'd already had high confidence intelligence that members of the local community could arm themselves, as this document noted, against the Maccabi fans. None of that was made clear at all for many months, although I was sensing there was that concern in the Aston area. And then that was challenged towards the MPs, by the MPs, when West Midlands Police appeared in front of the Select Committee for a second time. And it led to them eventually having to say, well, to the MPs, you didn't ask us this before, when they expressed incredulity, the fact that this hadn't been brought up before. So there are so many strands, and while it sounds complex, it is, because of the nature of this not only impacting football fans, hooliganism and community relations, but also the spillover from the Israel-Gaza war as well.
Yeah, on one of the sort of apocryphal things that the inspector zoned in on, Rob, in this apparent investigation by West Midlands Police, was the use of AI and the hallucinating of a match that never actually happened.
Yes, now this was the intelligence document that West Midlands Police produced after the ban decision was announced. The accusation is they effectively retrofitted some of the intelligence to justify the ban amid opposition from Downing Street and the opposition as well. And within this document, it referenced the last time Maccabi Tel Aviv played in England, and it referenced a game against West Ham in 2023. But that game just didn't exist. Now, it's not central to the decision because it didn't claim there was any unrest at this game or any issues. It just merely noted it. But it was how that piece of evidence came to feature in the document that came under the microscope, because at their first parliamentary hearing in front of the Home Affairs Select Committee in early December, they didn't acknowledge it was AI. They were asked about it again in the last week when recalled to face the MPs, and the Chief Constable, Craig Guilford, insisted it was just from a Google search. Well, at the start of this week, on Wednesday, they finally admitted it had in fact been AI. It had been the Microsoft Copilot tool that had produced it, and they apologised. It was the second apology. They'd previously apologised just before the new year for providing further misleading evidence in front of MPs at their initial hearing when they claimed the Jewish community in Birmingham backed the ban. Well, in fact, they acknowledged that was not the case, and I obtained minutes from council meetings of the Security Safety Group, which in fact showed from these emails and exchanges as well that West Midlands Police were aware that if they did ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, it could be perceived as anti-Semitic. And then the other part to this, and it comes back to why we're talking about Amsterdam and a match Maccabi Tel Aviv played against Ajax in 2024, is because West Midlands Police sought the advice of their Dutch counterparts over just what unfolded there. But we uncovered that they exaggerated some of their evidence. Some of it was in complete dispute. They claimed that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans had thrown locals into the canal. They also said that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans had gone hunting members of the Muslim community. The Dutch police said that was not the case. And there were some distortions over the numbers. But there were incidents in Amsterdam in 2024, which is why the concerns were there. Maccabi Tel Aviv fans chanting anti-Palestinian slogans involved in violence. The only convictions, though, 5 people were for attacks on Maccabi fans that were characterised by the authorities as anti-Semitic, called a Jew hunt in part in some of that evidence. And yet West Midlands Police didn't keep notes of their call with their Dutch counterparts. They actually threw them away, we discovered this week from the inspectorate report. And perhaps that's why we later uncovered the Dutch police disputing some of the evidence that had been there. But at the heart of this, it all raised questions about the integrity, decision-making and accuracy of a police force going way beyond a football match and banning Israeli fans.
Rob Harris, many thanks indeed. We've had a statement from Ayub Khan, who is the local independent MP. He's the member for Birmingham Perry Barr, and he says today marks a dark and shameful chapter for Birmingham and the wider West Midlands. We've witnessed one of the greatest injustices of our time. A chief constable sacrificed not for failure, but for doing his duty, says Ayub Khan, a public servant, ousted for protecting the people of Birmingham and refusing to play politics. A police commander removed for judging the Maccabi Tel Aviv ultras not on their faith or nationality, but on the storied history of violence, racism and thuggery that showed the content of their character. Watching the Home Secretary, the local MP says, and her government mobilise in the way they did to defend the honour of Maccabi Tel Aviv has been horrifying. Today, an honourable man of integrity has been ruthlessly scapegoated, publicly maligned and discarded in favour of appeasing hooligans and the very violence his actions prevented. This was not accountability, it was a witch hunt. That statement from Ayub Khan, the MP for Birmingham, Perry Barr. We'll bring you more on this developing story as we get it this afternoon.